Mayor Scott Maddasion in studio with us today. You just came back from a legislative breakfast, or
Yeah.
how'd that go?
Legislative kickoff breakfast every year, right before the legislature at the state level goes into session. The representatives and the senator are here, and they just answer questions from anybody that's there, citizens. A lot of local government folks are there, obviously, it's always a good to get a little bit of an idea of what's coming up in the legislative session, because those folks have gotten a little bit of an idea, but ultimately from what they've said and historic, when the governor does her state of the state and she puts out her budget and things like that, that's where we really will start to see what's going to be on the table for this legislative session. So
what were some of the things that were brought up?
They're going to look at property taxes again. That's obviously something that is on the forefront of that. Representative Momsen, he's not technically Clinton representative, but he represents part of Clinton County. He's very high up on the ag stuff, so he's really big into all the things agriculture throughout the state and those laws, which is important to a lot of people in our county, not necessarily the city proper. I mean, there's some farmland in the city, but so that's a big thing. Representative Detterman, he mentioned that he wants to make a bill that we push to have an SRO in every city building, but then that gets into that property tax question, because property taxes and the general fund in the city is what property taxes are, and property taxes are only about half of our budget in the city. We're about a $19 million budget, so about half of that is property taxes collected, and that money goes to police, fire, Parks and Rec, City Hall functions, like those types of things, right? When it comes to, garbage collection and all that stuff obviously has a revenue source that pays for itself. So when they're looking at reducing property taxes, that's coming out of the general fund, and then the legislature brings up ideas like, well, we want an SRO in every building. Well, who's going to pay the salary of that SRO? Because, we have 51 sworn officers, and if we put one in every school building, that's less people on the streets now as well. So how do we do that? And police protection is one of the main things that the citizens need to have, right? We can't just get rid of our police and say, all right, it's the Wild West, figure it out. That'd be a terrible disaster.
Of course, Chris Knoyer now has been appointed lieutenant governor, so there is an opening. And the two candidates, and that election will be coming up shortly. Yeah. You said they were in attendance?
Yeah, they were both in attendance there. I actually met Miss Whittington last night for a moment, and I got to talk to her for a second. I've never met Mr. Zimmer, but looking forward to try to reach out to both of them and kind of talk to them before the election, because from my perspective, when I'm looking at who to vote for in a representative, I really look for best person for the job. I want someone that's going to represent the interests of the city of Clinton. Senator Knoyer did a wonderful job representing us over the last, I think, 6 or 7 years. I think she did it, somewhere in that range. And she did a wonderful job. And she was someone that was, if we needed something, I could call her. She'd answer. We'd have a conversation, and she would advocate for it, right? And there's a lot of things that we needed, and she pushed out there to try to get things done. One was some money to help with our marina area and the stuff that we have some issues in the river, and we've talked about that on here before. She got us some money, $650,000 for that, right? Saw the need, found a spot where we could get some money, and she pushed for it. So just little things like that, and then just being a constant voice for us. She did a great job. So whoever it is out of those two, or if there's an independent that comes into the mix too, it's going to be big shoes to fill.
Now, did either one of those candidates get an opportunity to speak, or were they just pretty much in attendance?
They were just in attendance at the moment. It goes till 9:30, so they may have a chance to do that, but I don't think that was on the agenda, so to speak, for that. They're going to do a candidate forum next week. I don't remember which night it is, but it'll be in the DeWitt satellite office. So that candidate forum will be similar to what you see when we have city elections and things like that. You'll be able to go ask questions. I'm pretty confident they're going to have it on YouTube so that you can watch it live and then go back and watch it if you couldn't make it. So
I never get the opportunity to go to these legislative breakfasts because I'm on the air at that time. How do those work? Is there a particular format, agenda, as you mentioned?
Anybody can ask questions. They usually take written questions up there, and then they kind of go through those questions. There's a little bit of discussion. They try to limit folks so we're not preaching, for 20 minutes and kind of wasting time. We try to stick to those questions, but that's really, it's pretty a basic format, just kind of question, answer, and then the representatives get a chance to kind of give like an opening statement and talk about what their priorities will be, and then it kind of goes from there.
And of course, you're there as the mayor of Clinton. Are there other mayors there? How's that?
The city administrator from both Comanche and DeWitt were there. The mayor from DeWitt was there. We had a council member there. Councilmember Oberyn was there. You got the superintendents. You got a lot of folks. Brian Kelly from Clinton Community College is there. So the county supervisor, Dan Serp was there. Treasurer. So yeah, I mean, you see a lot of those folks there, kind of representing their areas.
What about the general public?
There was public there. Mr. Vickers was there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's always at those things, yes. And so there's a lot of general public in there too. I would guess today probably there was at least 20 folks from just kind of the general public, and it was school district folks, some from business professionals. So you see a mix of different people at these types of things.
I appreciate you coming in to do the program today. But you say you had to rush out of that?
Yeah, I had to come out of that to come over here and hang with you.
Well, I appreciate
that. I didn't want to miss out on this.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So how much longer will this be going on?
It goes till 9:30, and then they have one Saturday in January, February, and March where the representatives will do a Saturday morning legislative coffee. They've held them in Comanche City Hall before. They've been a couple other places. So look out for those, because that's another opportunity to go engage with the representatives during the legislative session after things have started to be presented and kind of gone through the process. So
I'm always interested in the various levels of government. Of course, you're involved with the city.
Yeah.
Then you have the legislators. Then you have the state representatives, state senator.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have your national candidates. I mean, it's quite a layer of candidates.
It really is. But I think it works. And you have representatives at all levels, because what we do at the city level affects your life differently than what the president's doing. I always say that technically the city affects your life more than the federal government does. They don't do a whole lot of things that affect your lives on a daily basis, right? Mm-hmm. But we do. We got beautiful roads to drive on. We have all these services, all these different things. So really the local level. And it didn't hit me until I started doing this. Like, you have an inkling, like, oh, yeah, those guys are important. But then when you get in it, you're like, holy smokes. Like, the decisions that are made at the city level, every day or every month or every time we have a meeting, it impacts people's daily lives regularly. So.
But you do take time to go out to the state legislature every once in a while, right?
Yeah. So we'll do a trip out there with kind of the Clinton County as a conglomerate here the end of February. They do that. We'll do that. I've gone out, if we have specific issues in the city of Clinton, then myself and the city administrator or whoever we do, we'll go out and have those conversations. A lot of times we are able to get them when they're back here, the representatives, and have those meetings and things. So we don't have to drive to Des Moines too often, but there are opportunities where we go out there if something's important.
I know visiting with the superintendent of schools, lobbyists are out there pretty much for you.
Yeah, we in the county pay for a lobbyist firm to kind of protect or work for our interests, and we have a government committee where myself's on it. We have a council member, and then you got representatives from Comanche, DeWitt, the county, and then Grow Clinton. So those are the folks that are kind of all involved in that. Is it important to have it? I mean, I hem-haw around about it, because if we have a really important issue, that lobbyist is really important to have. If we don't have anything going on, I don't know. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference if we have someone or not.
I can't imagine how many lobbyists are out there.
Oh, it's a ton. Yeah, it's an absolute ton. Yeah.
And I would imagine they probably work for more than one area, one community.
Yeah, they do. And the League of Cities is someone that I like to lean on. We're part of the League of Cities, the city of Clinton is, and I'm on their legislative policy committee, and they lobby at the state for things. And I really like that avenue better, because it's a policy committee of about 20 or 30 people that are all either administrators, council members, or mayors. So it's a committee of people that understand the local level decisions and the local level challenges that we have. It's also big cities, small cities. It's all over the place, right? So we get representation from everywhere, and then we all give input, and then the League of Cities advocates on our behalf based on the input that we give. So to me, I'm not the smartest person in the room when I walk in there, right? But when I'm in a group of 20 or 30 people and we can all bounce ideas as a collective group, I think we're pretty smart on what the issues are. So that to me is a good way to do it.
Well, you might be the smartest person in the room right now.
I don't think so.
So let's take a break for the weather. Brought to you by Electronics.
We're tracking a fairly nice Thursday ahead of us. We'll see a good mix of some sunshine and a few clouds, warmer temperatures reaching the low 30s this afternoon. Still going to be a little bit of a wind chill factor with that, though. For tonight, clouds on the increase and a few snow showers late. Overnight lows in the 20s. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
We do have sunshine, but still cool out there, 13 degrees. The update brought to you by Electronics.
Electronics Incorporated is the area's largest communications and alarm systems company. Electronics offers best in class life safety, security, audiovisual, two-way radios, and communications from top brands. Whether it's a one-man operation, a small business, or a large franchise, their professional team has decades of experience that bring you the best possible service. Electronics Incorporated at 522 North 2nd Street, Clinton.
Continuing now with FYI, we got the mayor and, of course, Scott Maddasion working on the budget right now, Scott?
Yeah. So actually today at 3:30, the Capitol is the first capital improvements planning meeting, which is the kickoff of the budget season. We talk about it every year. I think it's important for the citizens to understand how our budget process works, and this is where we start. And the capital improvements is all the projects that we need to get done. Or that we would like to get done in the next year. So pavement management's in there. So what roads are on the slate to get redone next year? If there's large costs that we have to, there's not one on there this year, but like a fire truck, right? Okay, how are we planning? We need to do it now? We need to do it in 5 years. How are we planning to get that done? So you see things like that on there. If we need to replace a garbage truck or we need to replace a large item, that's what you're going to see on the capital improvements planning. I always joke one of my first years here, there was a department head, and I joke with him all the time about he had a $2,500 floor scrubber on the capital improvements plan, and I was like, man, if we can't afford a $2,500 floor scrubber, we shouldn't have to borrow for 15 years for that, And it's always a joke in my mind, and he laughs about it now. But those little things aren't on there, but it's like the big stuff that we're looking at. So that starts now. There's going to be 3 meetings for that. That committee has citizens on there, county representation, school board representation, council members. So there's a lot of representation on that group. Anybody's welcome. It's at 3:30 today in the council chambers. If you have an idea of a project that you want to see, bring it up. It might not get funded first year. We may have to do some legwork, but that's the opportunity that you have as a citizen to come kind of voice what you think is going to work.
That is quite a process. It's very interesting. I mean, you were talking about the various people who are involved. I can imagine those can be lengthy discussions sometimes.
They can be, and today what you'll see a lot is there's a list that's put together by the city administrator and the department heads, and you're going to see the department heads presenting today, this is why we need to do X, Y, Z. This is my plan, and not everything will get funded. It all, or any of it might not get funded. It all depends on what the council does during budget. So this is kind of the start of it. We did see our valuation go up a little bit from last year, which means our valuation is, how much the city is worth, right? And that's how a lot of things are calculated as far as funding mechanisms through the state and property taxes and things like that, right? So that's what we're looking at on the valuation side. So that went up January, I can't remember if it's 30th, 31st. That'll be the first official budget meeting. And that process is our finance director. She brings the budget from each department, each entity, and the council has the ability, and myself have the ability to go through line by line, why do you have this much money in the paper supplies line? It could get down to something as minuscule as that versus, or why was overtime in this department higher last year than it was the year before, and why are we budgeting more than that for next year? So it can be a whole plethora of discussions that happen during that budget. We usually start with what we call the proprietary funds, which are the ones that have a revenue source, so solid waste, things like that. I mean, it's pretty easy. Like, this is how much it costs to pick up everybody's trash and recycling throughout the year. This is how much we collect. Here's our budget, right? That's pretty simple. You slim it down. We have a little bit of overage in there because obviously you need to replace things like trash cans that get ruined, or trucks, or maintenance, or whatever it is, right? So there's stuff like that. And then we'll get all the way down. Usually at the end we do the general fund, and that's what most people think of as property taxes. Like we mentioned before, police, fire, city hall, all that kind of stuff, public works.
Department heads, in my mind, you got fire, police, park and rec, I would imagine.
Yep.
What's all involved in department heads?
So department heads, they kind of administer their own budgets. Obviously, when they come through council, they get their budget for their department for the year, and then that's how they operate, right? And Anita gives them updates throughout the year, like, hey, you're at 25% of your budget, you're at 50% of your budget, and they work well together on that. But there's opportunities, like if for some reason we're under budget for a reason, there's opportunity to now we can administer this program because we have a little extra funding, or we can replace that floor scrubber because we saved a little money here, or this project didn't cost so much, so how do we handle that? And there's opportunities there, but each department head's going to have that. And we have, let's see, police, fire, IT, finance, public works. Who am I missing? MTA, the airport, and then am I missing anybody else?
Did you mention parks?
Community development, Parks and Rec. So there's like 8 to 10 departments, if I'm mentioning them all. So there's a department head for each of those things. Human resources now, since we have the human resource director. So there's a lot of department heads. Some of them have maybe 1 or 2 employees in them. Some have 20, or the police and fire, they got right around 50 apiece, right? So there's a lot of difference between those departments. But yeah, we're gonna be tackling that.
As you mentioned, you're just kind of kicking this off. When does this all have to be set?
So it used to be March 30. Is it March 31st? The end of March, but the HF 718 that the legislation passed a year back, it's now the end of April. So we have an extra 30 days now. So usually, like, we're starting budget like now, actual discussions, where we push it out a little bit. So we'll be done and ready. And then there's benchmarks you have to hit. We have to have public hearings and meetings, and we have to post them by this date and that date. And so it's a lot of things that you have to do to make sure the public is aware and they know. But online on our website, if you go to the iCompass portal, you can see every single city meeting that's happening, whether it's a budget meeting or a trails advisory meeting, whatever it is. It's all on the calendar with the times, with the agenda, so you as a citizen can see all of that any time of the year, not just now.
So much transparency now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
There's no reason not to be.
Yeah.
If folks have a question for me, I'll answer it honestly. And unless it's a legal thing and we can't comment right now, we're in a lawsuit. But other than that, I mean, I'll answer everything honestly. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get the answer, because there's no reason to not be transparent. And it's so much easier just to be transparent than it is to not be, in my opinion, right? So putting it all out there it's giving citizens every time. I can't handhold everybody to come to everything, right? But the information's all out there on the website. If you want to come, you're more than welcome to come. And you're also always more than welcome to give input. The one thing that I have always strived to do, and hopefully I've done it every time, but I think I have, if a citizen wants to talk, I let them talk. I never tell a citizen they can't talk at a meeting. That to me is inappropriate. If they're there and they're engaged, then they should be able to make their comments. Now, sometimes they get unruly and you got to calm them down, right? But ultimately, if citizens want to speak out and they want to do that, then please come to the meetings and do that, and we'll make sure you are afforded that opportunity, because that's your right.
Again, visiting with Scott Maddasion, kind of wrapping up the program today. In 2 weeks, Josh Agers will be in.
Yeah.
For FYI, it'll be kind of our kickoff to the updates on Tailgate and Tall Boys. Of course, the big name, Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
So how are things going right now?
Things are going just as normal, sales are going. We're working hard on the sponsorship side. So if you want to sponsor, reach out to Josh or I. We've been really, really grateful and appreciative to the support that the local businesses have given to us on the sponsorship side, year 1 and year 2. We have a lot of people that are coming back year 3, and we know that it's an extreme cost to them, but we really appreciate it. So if anybody's listening, thank you very much, and we love your support. There's a lot of new packages this year if you're looking to be a sponsor. I think one that's really new, and Josh will talk about it, is we have a banner sponsor. It's $500. You get your name on a banner. We have loads of fence line, right? You get a banner that's branded with the tailgate logo and all that stuff. Your banner will be there, and you get a pair of general admission tickets with it, plus the banner, and then we're gonna do our best to get the banner back to you so you can keep it. Really, really easy way, but an important way that we should get a lot of people involved. So you don't have to do the $5,000 or $10,000 thing. $500 gets you involved in it, gets you a couple tickets that you can give away to your customers or keep them or whatever you want to do. But you get that banner and you get some recognition. So that, I think, is a really cool addition that we made this year, talking with the USA Concerts folks.
Of course, this will be year 3. How does the future look?
Yeah, so we've got approval from council to pursue a new contract, and USA Concerts has a new partner. You'll see their name running around, Peachtree Entertainment, which is kind of a big dog in the entertainment world. So they're kind of working through their partnership side of things, and then I think as a group we'll get together and we'll kind of talk about what the future looks like going forward. But those discussions specifically haven't happened yet, because there's a lot to happen when you're getting on sale and getting everything in order and getting the ticket stuff ready and the websites and all that stuff. So like the website, if people notice, the website got revamped, and that was something that kind of Peachtree wanted looked at, and so you'll see little things like that. But ultimately we'll have those discussions. We're just not quite there yet.
Of course, the initial one was a 3-year. What would you like to see? Keep it at 3 years, or year to year, or 5 years?
I'd love to do it for 100. No, I think this is a really important event for our community. I mean, having 35,000 people over 3 days, that's more than our population, right? I think it's a good thing. I think in 10 years or 15 years, people are going to look back and they're going to see and they're going to anticipate, and they're going to want to go to this thing. So I think it's important to keep it for our community. Being a steward of the citizens here, it's probably best to keep it on a shorter term, whether that's 3 years, 5 years. I would consider that somewhat of a short term. I think that's pertinent just because, you can't sign a 100-year agreement. That just doesn't make sense, because you don't know what the city's going to look like sometimes next year versus, 3 to 5 years out. So I think 3 is probably a good number, but I'd be all right with 5. I think we could make that work.
And they would be willing to work with you on that number?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted to do 5 originally, right? And the council kind of backed it to 3 to start. So maybe we just do consecutive 3s and kind of go from there, but they're not like set like it's got to be 10 years or we're out, right? So
that's good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in. Again, if people want to find out more information about our city, their best way to do.
Website, reach out to me, reach out to your council members. So it's always the most, if there's facts you want to know, reach out to the folks that can get those to you. So
appreciate it.
Iowa has a wonderful heritage, and each weekday I'll share these stories of historic people and events with you. I'm Jeff Stein. Join me right here for the Iowa Almanac program and learn more about this great place we call home. Listen for Iowa Almanac weekdays at 12:20 p.m. on KROS 1340 AM and 105.9 FM.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.